welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to give you guys an update on my Frangipani plant here. So it's been probably almost a year since I've done an update. The last update I did, I was actually giving it a really hard prune. It was probably about 5 or 6 foot tall and needed a hard prune because it was going to touch the ceiling and it wouldn't be able to grow anymore. And it doesn't naturally put side branches out from lower down unless you cut it, to be honest. So I give it a really hard prune. I'll either put a clip in now or a photo of what it looked like before the prune or maybe during the prune, so you have an idea of how much material was taken off. So as you can see from that video, there was a lot taken off from this plant. You can see some of the cut marks here. There's also one under that leaf here, there and there. So I took the height right down. Also made a lot of cuttings from them as well. But this is how you can see basically how much it's regrown since. So I'll give you guys a close-up of the cuts. You can see here it's grown over a foot in places, so about 40, maybe 50 centimeters. So you can see that there. Plenty of new growth. Every place I've cut it, it's grown into 2 new shoots. Interestingly, apart from the one in the middle, most of them have a leading shoot and a kind of minor shoot. So you can see here a big one coming off, small one next to it. Same with these 2 at the back. A couple of big ones come off and then the small ones as well. The one in the middle, however, which was the main shoot, as you can see, they're pretty equal in size. The one is slightly smaller than the other, but they are quite equal. So it's interesting to see that they did cause quite a bit of branching. Now if it was an even thicker trunk, it might have even grown more shoots, and there was a couple of places where it was trying to grow like a 3rd shoot. You can see here there's a little lump on that section of the cut where it was trying to grow an extra shoot there. So over the last summer it did really well. In the beginning of summer it grew really strong, really healthily. Another reason I gave it a really hard cut back was to try and remove any thrips, because the less leaf area that was on it, the easier it was for me to deal with it and clean up any thrips. Unfortunately the thrips came back midsummer. I put some treatment on for the thrips, basically a predatory mite, because I didn't want to keep spraying it with pesticide. But unfortunately it got more and more weak with thrips. So I'll show you a picture now of how it looked in July, really strong growth. I think I've also got a picture from August as well, and you'll be able to see how it was doing then. But after those 2 months, it didn't really put on much more growth, and it just kind of slowly suffered. The leaves got really badly damaged. There's not many leaves left. You've got this one here. You can see there's a lot of aphids on it now as well, and there's lots of little pot marks and damages, partly from the thrips, partly from the aphids. So I've had a real problem with in the last few months because of that. Now the leaves do normally fall off in winter. I've only had 1 winter where they haven't. And the only winter that they didn't fall off is when I had absolutely no thrips. So what seems to happen is in the winter months, when it's a little bit weaker, the plant can't quite handle the attacks from the thrips, so it just sheds all its leaves and goes dormant. And I just keep it dry basically and keep it dormant. So in this video I'm just going to tidy up any of these dead leaves. I'm also going to try and get rid of any thrips that I can, also any aphids as well. Give it a bit of a water, put it in a nice warm environment, and try and encourage it to come into growth for spring. So what I'm going to be using to try and kill off any of the thrips that are remaining on it is isopropyl alcohol. So it's just a spray foam that I've got here. I'm basically just going to spray it in all the shoots and then use a tissue to wipe it down. But before that I'm just going to remove any of these leaves, and these are good hiding places for any insects, and also the leaves are pretty much finished, so they're going to come off quite easily anyway. That last one I took off will bleed a little bit because that was actually still green, but the rest of them shouldn't be much bleeding on them. So as I said, I'm just going to spray the shoots and then wipe down all the stems with alcohol. That should hopefully kill off most of the insects. So that's it all rubbed down with the alcohol. What I'll also do is I'll put it out on my balcony, give it a really good spraying with the alcohol. The problem is, being inside a flat, the fumes are quite strong, and it's also a flammable substance as well, so I don't want to use too much of it indoors. So I'm going to put it outside, give it a really good spray, leave it there for it all to evaporate, and then that should hopefully kill off most of the bugs. What I'll also do is I'll then repeatedly give it a soap spray. The soap kills off insects as well, so that should help reduce any other insects that have survived the alcohol treatment from coming back. And I'll keep a really close eye on it. Hopefully I can keep on top of it this year. And then when the growth does start to come again, I'm going to put some of the predatory mites on it again. And they're good if you've got low numbers of thrips, but they can't control high numbers of thrips. And by the time I put them on last year, the numbers were quite high already, so it was quite difficult for them to deal with the thrips. So that's about it for this video, I think. As I say, I'll give you guys an update soon. The only other things I've done recently with this plant is I topped up the compost a little bit with some leftover compost that I had when I was repotting my rubber plant. So that's just filled the top slightly. I did lift it up to check underneath if I could put any underneath, but the roots are all going into the self-watering system on this pot, so I wasn't able to do that. But in the long run I will have to replant this, because it's been in this pot for probably about 3 years now, possibly 4 years soon, and it will need that soil replaced because it's getting quite old now. That'll be quite a big job when that finally comes. Also, the Madagascan jasmine hasn't been doing too well recently. I'll just have to keep an eye on him, see if he needs a bit more help. I did wipe it with the alcohol just to make sure there's no bugs in that, but generally the thrips don't seem to be affecting this, so that isn't a big issue. But I'll keep an eye on this, as I say, make sure there's no thrips coming back. If there is, soap spray and possibly more alcohol spray as well to kill them off. So I'll give you guys an update. It'll probably be quite late in the year, because normally with this plant, when it goes into dormancy, it's really hard to get it into growth again. It needs really high temperatures, lots of strong sunshine before it decides it wants to grow again. So normally it's like June, July that this puts on any new growth. I'm trying to see what I can do. Hopefully this year I can try and get it into growth in May. But normally it's quite well into the warmer summer months before it does put any growth on. So anyway, I'll see you guys in a few months' time. Hopefully I'll have some good news and some strong growth. And we'll see, hopefully this year won't be any thrips either.